On today's Patriot Nation podcast, we have an old school episode, just Spags, Keegan, and me this week, breaking down Mac Jones's first career victory against the Jets last weekend, and of course, talking about the Saints game as well this weekend. We do have a 5-minute fantasy with Cooter Doodle coming up. Saints fans, so should be talking about the Saints as well. It's a hell of a show, so buckle up and cue the music. Gentlemen, the first win of the Mac Jones era is officially here. We saw it happen, and it may not have been pretty, but it happened, and so we're happy about it.
For sure. I mean, it's one of many. He's the first one of the first-round picks to accomplish that. Obviously, Trey Lance won the first week, but he didn't start, so that's Jimmy G's win. But no, I mean, it's good. Like I said, and he talked about it after the game. It's hard to win in this league, and however you can do it, it's always good for the team, right? I don't think he's one to care about statistics and I want to throw more touchdowns, right? He seems like a team first guy, and obviously super excited to kind of get that one under his belt. And like I said, here's to many more.
Yeah, they're obviously in kind of a getting to know each other situation where everything's not the details aren't ironed out, right? Like the penalties and the mistakes, they can shore up a little bit, but after last year, I don't think you can complain very much about a victory. They got the first one, and hopefully they'll be able to get a few more here down the line.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And we'll see kind of how it goes the rest of the way. But you see around the league, I mean, how hard it is to win in this league. I mean, if the Seahawks don't have a Seahawks-like game and collapse in the fourth quarter, or the second half, I should say, against Tennessee, then the only win of the season for the AFC South would have been done by the Houston Texans, for God's sakes. So, of course, they ended up getting the win there. But, 0-2 Colts, 0-2 Jags, we knew it was going to happen. But, very surprising stuff there. So, and that's really what you're looking for. And the criticism here, and you hear it from Nick Wright, and you hear it from the guys all over the place, is they're not throwing the ball downfield, right? And Mac, at some times, can be more aggressive and maybe throw the ball a little bit further downfield, which you'd like to see from him. There are times when he has those things open, especially on the throwback play. Which, was probably open. He probably should have thrown it there, but Jonnu Smith had no one within 10 yards of him. So, I'm not going to complain about a 20-yard completion on a play like that, but still, you feel like you kind of want to take a deep shot there. He's shown some good touch on the deep throws, right? He had one to Jacoby Myers this week. He had one to James White the first week. He had that seam down the middle to Aguilar last week, and he had another seam down the middle to Hunter Henry this week. So he can push the ball downfield if he has to. It's just not, I don't want the other side of it either. Zach Wilson, where he's all over the place throwing to nobodies. And Trevor Lawrence has the highest percentage of uncatchable balls thrown by a quarterback this year. So it's only through 2 games, of course, but still, I'd much rather be in the situation I am with Mac Jones than I am with those other 2 guys.
The other thing too, with, it's just complete. You saw on Sunday, the 2 different styles of coaching and how they're handling a young quarterback, right? Wilson was kind of all over the place, and he treated it kind of like a college game when he was back at BYU. It's one read, and if that read's not there, he just turns and throws it somewhere else, right? And obviously pressure was in his face, and they kind of just let him run wild. And Salah said it after the game. Sometimes it's good to play boring, and I think that's the biggest thing for him. And with Mac, that it's almost like he's playing too boring, but it's beneficial to him and his development and what they want out of him. Right? You kind of want some sort of happy medium, and I'm sure they'll get there. It's only been 2 games, but like I said, the stylistically between the 2 and just how both teams were handling young quarterbacks was fully on display on Sunday. And I think it was at least like I said, through the first 2 weeks, which one may have a better career simply because of the situation they're in.
Yeah, we talked about it heading into the draft, after the draft, kind of the whole situation about rookie quarterbacks. It's all about the situation. And Mac's coming into a situation where the defense is pretty good. I think last week was an aberration with the 4 interceptions and kind of making somebody look foolish. That's not going to happen every week, but it's a talented defense. They're still getting right. They've got a lot to work on in the ground game. They're letting them 5 yards a pop, which isn't acceptable, and it's not going to get you wins, moving forward. But it's a defense who, when they're right, they can be really, really good. So he's not going to have to, push the ball down the field as much as somebody like Wilson would, maybe with the Jets defense. So I think overall, if you look at the team as a whole, there are a lot of things that they can plug up, but it's all stuff that can be fixed. It's none of it is the rookie quarterback. We don't know what's going on with him. And we're going to have to ride the ups and downs. It's really like, nitpicking. I'd like him to do this, but it's fine if he doesn't. I think you're in a much better spot than, all 4 other situations with rookie quarterbacks or first round quarterbacks, and 5 if you count Houston with Davis Mills. Like that, I think they're in the best situation possible.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one of the things for me is like, let's focus on not just Mac Jones, but also, the team around him. And I think I've been concerned with the offensive line play, but like overall defensively and offensively, they have a ton of stuff. And it's like, Brady was a game manager in 2001. Now it was a different game back then. It was a very different game back then, but still he was a game manager back then and they were just fine. And he was good in 03 and 04. Like, let's not get it twisted. It's not like he was bad or not throwing the ball downfield, but he wasn't a top 5 quarterback in the NFL at that point. He probably wasn't even a top 10 quarterback in the NFL at that point. So they were asking him to do a decent amount, but they weren't asking him to do too much. They're bringing Mac along slowly and just saying, look, we're going to make it easy for you. We're going to, run some plays and do this and do that. But, they talked about it already. Like, we're not taking things away from him. Now, Josh McDaniels isn't going to be honest about everything, right? They might be calling plays to, to make it easy on him, to not kind of force things in. But we've seen some staples from the Patriots already. Like, I think that, the position they were in, and this is the thing for me too, I'd much rather be in this situation than the other situation where you're saying, okay, just sling it all over the field and that at some point we'll rein it in. Where at Mac, it's like, okay, be smart with the football, get rid of it quickly, and then let's go back and take a look. Okay, that you missed this and you missed that and you missed this. Now, next time you have an opportunity to make that play instead of, okay, I'm just going to force it down the field and throw it like crazy and, try to make everything happen and we live and die on your arm. It just doesn't, that's not the right situation for a rookie anyways, and really for any quarterback, to be honest with you. So I'm happy with where they are. We'll get more into the defense because I have some interesting stats. But nevertheless, I'm pleased with where they are and with Mac so far. So, anyways, let's get into the defense because Louis Benjamin from PFF just tweeted out about the top pressure percentages among edge rushers. Number 1 on that list is Matthew Judon, 30.3% pressure percentage. Number 2 on that list is Josh Uche with 26.9% pressure percentage. So you talk about guys being able to get after the quarterback and be disruptive in the passing game. I believe did Judon have 9 pressures? 9 pressures on Sunday, did he not?
I think so. I mean, the thing that stands out for me with him is the motor. He never takes a play off. He's literally always in the backfield making something happen. And we still haven't seen Uche receive consistent snaps. I think I don't have it in front of me, but I think he played a little bit more in week 2 than he did in week 1. And he did play towards the end of the game, which, that's not necessarily promising for him, but I think those 2 are your future. I don't know why he's not seeing 65%.
The role they were using him in, because they were up by, 15, 20 points, but towards the end of the game when he was playing. And I tweeted it out when I saw play. He set the edge, looked great, got underneath a pull, and kind of forced a running back outside into the corners, and they ended up getting a tackle for loss. I think it was Duggar. And it was a great play, and it was like, all right, why aren't they playing him? And then the next 2 plays, he gets buried in the run game. And it's like, I think there's nothing more frustrating for a coach, I think, than the inconsistencies and stuff like that, where you can do it. I know you can do it, but you're not doing it. And that's the problem. Yeah. You're doing it once and then it goes away. So I think that's, especially with a guy like Belichick, if he gets upset with something like that, you're going to find your ass on the bench, and you can rush the passer, but we're not going to throw you out there, for, like you said, 60, 70% of the snaps. So that was one thing that I noticed with getting him on the field. Like, it's going to be a pass rush role for now, but maybe something that we've talked about, not on the show, but with Kyle Van Noy, who knows how long he's going to be out, didn't practice last week, didn't play last week. If he's not available, I don't think you can roll with Dante Hightower, who's what's he, 32 years old, and he's got a lot of mileage on those knees. And Juwan Bentley, who, though Gerard Mayo says he looks faster, he's not a space linebacker, so maybe Uche falling into that Kyle Van Noy role while he's out or whatever, that might be a good spot to hide that run defense deficiency and get him on the field and let him rush the passer a little bit. Excuse me.
Yeah, makes sense. Cody over here is talking about Juwan Bentley. He's my guy. Love Juwan Bentley. He had a tough year last year. But again, and I said it all year last year, I said in the offseason, Van Noy is a great example. When Van Noy was playing Hightower's position, he sucked, right? Everyone was all over him. He sucks. This guy's terrible, this and that. Then Hightower comes back. He gets to play his actual position. He looks pretty damn good. And Bentley's doing the same thing. Juwan Bentley is not a space guy, right? He's not a guy that's going to go out and cover. That's not who he is. But if you let him get downhill, get after the run, understand he's doing a better job, I think, understanding the run fits and kind of getting into the backfield and making plays. I think he's valuable in that sense. I think he's better than a Landon Roberts, but in a Landon Roberts type role is what I'm looking for from Bentley. And when you have Hightower, you can let him do that. And so I like Bentley a lot. I think he's played well the first 2 games. But again, it's because he's playing the role that he needs to play. He can't do more than that, right? I think when he's doing that, he's good. He just can't do more than that. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So offensively, the offensive line is a big question mark. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen with Trent Brown. I'm concerned. I don't know, Spags, if you're concerned as well, but I'm concerned about what's going on. Yasir Durant isn't going to cut it. Haran isn't going to cut it. Maybe Cajuste or however you pronounce his name. Maybe Bigfoot makes his appearance in this first career game next week. Maybe, and if that's not the solution, I wonder if they put in Karras and move Onwenu back to right tackle. I know Onwenu's been great at guard, but at some point you just got to put your best 5 out there, don't you?
Yeah, it's curious, and I don't think Isaiah Wynn's been great either, right? He's just kind of, I think people aren't talking about him as much because the right tackle spot's been so bad. But yeah, I mean, I was on Murph's podcast this week. They asked the same thing, and I would like to see Cajuste, right? I know he was banged up. He was inactive week 1, I think, with a shoulder. But if Trent Brown, who he dealt with this calf thing in Oakland and Vegas, wasn't on the field last year, couldn't practice. We don't know if it's the same calf, but that's why he missed so much time after leaving here. So who really knows? I don't think he practiced today. He didn't practice all last week. Wasn't even present riding the bike or anything. So obviously
he showed up the last day last week. Last week.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe, like I said, it's promising. Who knows? At some point, I'd give Cajuste a look because he looked really good in the preseason. But when push comes to shove, you can't be rolling out these guys at that tackle spot with a young quarterback. He's taking a beating. The first 2 series in that Jets game was just, he had no time. And that's, Josh McDaniels called him an aggressive front. That's an average at best front, right? Like, let's not give him too much credit here.
There's no world beaters there.
Especially
it's
without
of average
the kid that got hurt. Who's the kid that got hurt? Didn't they bring in
Carl
a guy?
Lawson,
yep. Right? They brought him in, he got hurt. So, he's their best pass rusher. He's out.
At some point, you got to go Onwenu out, kick Onwenu out, and play Karras. Like when push comes to shove, if Brown's going to miss significant time.
Yeah, I think to play devil's advocate a little bit, the only explanation I've been able to come up with is they want continuity because they haven't had it in the past few years, right? Like on the offensive line, they've been throwing people everywhere, doing the best 5 thing, and it kind of worked last year. Like I don't think because of the rest of the team, we didn't really focus on the offensive line as something that needed improvement, but they weren't great, right? Like they were very average last year as a unit. And I think, this is just me grasping at straws a little bit. I think they want continuity. They want Cajuste, you're our left tackle swing guy. Like you're our backup left tackle for Wynn, who has never played more than 8 games in a season.
Right.
You're going to be his backup because we know we're probably going to need you at some point. They want Karras in the middle, being that do-it-all guy, and they want to give Onwenu a chance to develop at left guard. He's never going to develop if you keep moving him around, right? You're going to max him out a little bit. So that's the only thing I can come up with. I do agree, if it were me, like throw your best 5 out there.
Right.
But also, I think they're in a situation where they're not like contending for a championship. And it's week 2. Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves, but it's week 2 and they're kind of just like, let's see things move along a little bit. Let's try to get these guys some work and see if they improve. And if they don't later into the season, when we start seeing how things are shaking out around the league, then we'll be able to figure it out from there. I don't think there's any alarm button pushing right now quite yet.
I agree with you. I mean, yeah, we're not freaking out about this, but I do think at some point you got to figure it out, especially next week. Not this week, but next week when you play, one of the best defensive line fronts in the league. If Trent Brown ain't healthy for that game, and here's the other part of it too. You paid Ted Karras. Like, Ted Karras is getting paid. He's not getting paid like a backup. He's getting paid like a starter. So, and he's not getting paid that much, but he's getting paid enough that you could see him as a starter. So, like, for me, it's like, well, you clearly think highly of him. Like, put him on the field. You think that he's better than the other guys that you have at tackle. So that's the issue that I have there. I just feel like, if you have that guy on the team. Now, again, of course, guys get hurt. It's good to have depth, clearly, right? And they signed Karras before they got David Andrews. So maybe they didn't know for sure whether they were going to get Andrews or not. So you figure you bring Karras in. At worst, he's a great backup, right? So I get it. It's frustrating when you see, number one, the running game's got to be better, right? And a lot of times they miss blocks. And so, they did a great job blocking on a few plays. Of course, they had the Damian Harris beast mode touchdown, which is amazing. But, you'd like to see the run blocking a little bit better. And, of course, the pass blocking. You got to protect Mac. He's going to get killed back there. He has that Tom Brady 2000 body, right? He doesn't he's not exactly an Adonis, So if you put him back there and he gets killed, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But looking forward here to the Saints, I think, the thing for me with the Saints is that we just don't know what we're going to get, right? Like, I mean, Jameis looked really good the first week. Of course, he threw for like under 200 yards. He had 5 touchdowns, but he really didn't throw much. But, then last week he comes out and plays. He had that like a 45-degree angle falling down and just heaved it towards the end zone. Like, yeah, I mean, I guess he trying to make a play, but my goodness, so you just don't know what you're going to get. I feel like if you get in his face and pressure him and force him to make mistakes, then he's going to make them, right? And he's still the same. He's still Jameis Winston, right? He can throw it, but if you force him and pressure him, that's going to be a challenge. And not just that, but I also think, for me at least, if you look at what the Patriots can do, they can get after the quarterback, right? So like that's what I want to do. Let's pressure him and try to force him to make mistakes. So I don't know how you guys see that, but 4 picks over under 4 picks. That's high. That's a high number. I'm going to go under the 4 picks. By the way, speaking of that, Steve the Pirate over here asked us, are you still happy with your win-loss predictions? I was going to do a pirate voice, but I can't do it. But one of the
that's my cousin out in Ireland. I want to give a shout out.
Is it? Let's go.
Yeah,
no wonder why. There you go.
I could tell from the name.
Love it. Love it. So no wonder why he's talking like that. Okay. All right. I like it. The over under on Josh Uche was 4.5 sacks. He's got 3 through 2 games. So
yeah, that's true.
That one's looking good.
I think who said
over?
A
tough one.
Did we all say?
We all said under.
No. Keegan, no.
You said over.
Keegan took the under. I 100% took the over. I don't know if you took the over or not, Spags, but I know I did.
I didn't know he was going to get home 50% of the time. Like that's who knew, So I'm more than happy to be wrong on that one. If he's going to go out there and get 15.5 sacks on 20% playing time, I mean, I don't think anybody's going to complain, right?
That's very true. That's a great point. So, your thoughts about the Saints quickly, fellas, and then unless you want to save it for afterwards, we have Cooter waiting here, waiting in the wings. We can pull her up for our 5-minute fantasy, and she's going to talk a little Saints. But you want to give a little take before that happens?
Let's get Spags in here real quick, just because he's got a hard out. So
it's a good point. It's a good point.
Spags, what do you think about the Saints?
It's a weird one. I don't really know what to expect because it's a brand new quarterback. You don't see them much, and they've had they were great week 1 and terrible last week. So I'm interested to see their game plan versus them because I think Alvin Kamara is everybody knows, but he's a real weapon. Like can run between the tackles, outside the tackles, catch the ball. Like that's a true guy that they need to figure out how to stop. So, I mean, like I said, going into the game, I mean, they should win, right? But at the end of the day, what do we really know about them? Like, you don't. It's like a brand new team. If it was Breeze, and you kind of know what you're getting started with. But as for Winston, it's like the Saints in the first 2 weeks. You don't know which one's going to show up. So Who knows?
Good Jameis or bad Jameis. We'll see what happens, man. So, all right. So let's get into 5-minute fantasy here. We're gonna pull up our girl Cooter Doodle here. One of the best names on Twitter. Like, I mean, come on. Like that is one of the best names on Twitter. So we're gonna pull her up right here. And here she is. Thank you for coming through. We appreciate you. Thank you. She is down in New Orleans. So she is a true Saints fan, a hardcore Saints
through
fan.
and through.
So we appreciate it. Now, here's the way it works, right? I kind of explained to you already, but it's pretty simple. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. I'm literally going to put 5 minutes on the clock. All right. And you're going to you talk about whatever you want fantasy wise. We do have one question. There might be some other questions that come through the chat. So we'll kind of pull those up if they do. But we have one question already. You can talk about whatever you want fantasy wise for 5 minutes. That will end. And then in this situation, we're going to give you we'll open the floor to you for some Saints talk as well.
Okay.
Kind of give you your take on the Saints and whatnot. And then obviously you plug yourself and everything else like that. All right. All right. 5 minutes on the clock. Here we go. All right. So first question came from our boy Dark Blue Gold. He asked forget about this week, but the Saints offense moving forward. Kamara, Michael Thomas when he comes off of IR, maybe even Jameis. What are we thinking here, fantasy wise?
Okay. So I think a respectable expectation would be in between what we saw week 1 and week 2. More than likely. I mean, we know they can do it when the weapons are there, but we have so many injuries right now. It's almost absurd. I mean, on defense and offense. So that's not going good for us. A lot of coaches were out with COVID. I think we had like 8 coaches out this week. We've been displaced. So, I mean, there's a lot of like the narrative of things going against us. So it's not surprising. I don't think it's going to be great against New England next week. But I don't think we're going to be this terrible week to week. I think it's just we've had a lot of things stacked against us. It hurts, but my heart is in it for Juwan Johnson. I really want to see him flourish. I think, like you said, Spag, I mean, Kamara is just going to be killing it when he gets the chance, whenever we can get some first downs going. When Michael Thomas comes back, I think he's going to be the guy we expect, at least what he was last year. But yeah, so I mean, I'm not like, I didn't lose hope, but it definitely hurt to watch. It hurt to watch it.
I hear that. All right, so here's a question for you: Miles Sanders or Damian Harris?
I like them both surprisingly, but I'm gonna say Damian Harris. I'm just excited for him.
She knows where she is right now.
Yeah.
So who's a guy that you are starting this week that maybe other people may not be? Kind of a hot take start for you this week that you're like, I feel confident in this guy.
I don't know if it's hot as much this week, but last week, like the one we just ended on, I was starting Mike Williams everywhere that I had him, and that paid off.
Sure did.
I drafted a lot of Gronkowski, and I've been starting him since week 1. That's been paying off. So there's a lot of those guys like that. I mean, Sterling Shepard, even a few of the other ones that you drafted really late, and they're paying off right now.
That's smart. I did the same thing with Michael Pittman and then left him on my bench until he did good because I'm an idiot. Yeah. But, you know.
See, Pittman's another one that I'm like, I don't know, man. I think you can trust it, at least as a flex, you know?
Right. Exactly.
What you got. So.
All right. Other way, what about a guy that you're benching that most people are like, really? You're benching that guy?
Ooh, that's a good question. Maybe Kareem Hunt. He's a guy that I've been having in there in some leagues that I'm like, it just hurts it's the name for me. Like, how are you going to sit Kareem Hunt? But it's just, you know, I don't know. I think there's better stuff out there. I'd rather start like a Mike Williams, you know?
Right. No, that's a great point. It's a great point of getting off the names, you know? So, All right, you got 2 minutes left. So anything fantasy you want, like literally anything, you know, talk about some guys. Oh, Keegan's got a question. Here we go.
You mentioned Juwan Johnson, and that's my guy.
Yes.
I love him. I think he's going to be really good, like as a tight end. He made the position switch. What do you think? You know, picking him up in a dynasty league type situation. Do you think they're going to move forward with him at tight end, or do you think it's kind of like a right now?
It's weird because I saw a stat in the preseason of like where the tight ends were lined up, and he was predominantly doing what Jared Cook was doing, where he was in the slot when he was out there. The thing that's going against him is he's not out there often. So yeah, Troutman, as far as numbers go, he's on the field more. He might get a few more looks, but it looks to me like Jameis trusts Juwan, and that's the guy he's going in the red zone with. And that, for as far as tight ends go, and on this offense, that's the one that I'm going to take a flyer on at this point. So I did get him in a couple leagues because I feel like, I mean, if he has like a Jimmy Graham kind of, or a Ben Watson, we've seen tight ends flourish with the Saints. So if he's the one, that's the one I'm putting my heart into, and I think he could be it.
I
So
like
yeah,
it.
I'm
go
picking
do
him
it.
up
Go get him
right now.
Yeah,
No,
go
don't
get him.
do it. He's in my
Go get
dynasty.
him.
You, damn
Go
it.
get
You're
him.
giving me. All right, here's a layup for you. Rondell Moore. I mean, come on, dude.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Get him.
He's a wide receiver 2 out there in Arizona, right?
The question for me is like, how much fab are we putting down?
Mm.
Somebody
if
has
you-
him already.
Yeah, see if you play in
Aw.
the fab league, like you're dropping. I drop quite a
You-
bit on Rondell.
You almost
Moore.
have to. And well, actually, so tip I never thought to think of, but and I don't know how much time we have left, but like look at all your people in your league and see how much money they have left. Because if everyone wasted a ton of money in weeks 1 and 2, you don't want to bid over whatever their highest is.
That's a great point. All right, 15 seconds. Give us one final fantasy thought before you leave.
Josh Allen is daddy. Yay. I don't know.
Josh Allen. She is obsessed with Josh Allen, and listen, for good reason.
Yeah,
good
I know.
reason,
I
I
want to
think.
see them flourish too. They play the Saints Thanksgiving night.
All right, that's the end of that. All right, so that was good. We got through 5 minutes of fantasy there, a little fantasy talk in, and now we can get to your Saints. So obviously you're down in Dark Blue Gold thinks it's perhaps DN Josh Allen. I don't think so. Though.
No.
That's my guy.
Yeah. Keegan's a big college guy. So he, the college guys come over and he's like, oh, that guy. He picks out.
Loves me a
his
nice
college guys.
Kentucky Wildcat.
So you're obviously in New Orleans. I know that you weren't necessarily, Ida didn't really affect you too much. but I
Yeah,
know
I'm
you had
not
some
in the heart of New
family.
Orleans, no.
But yeah, I know you had some family. So, but I'm happy everyone's healthy and
Mhm.
safe and everything like that. So that's good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But did I see that the Superdome? I guess it's not called the Superdome.
It was
but
on
the roof was
fire.
on fire, like literally on
Yeah.
fire today. Like what?
Yeah,
the
it was
hell?
on fire. And the weirdest part about it is, so it was like really black smoke, and the joke was like, are we waiting for them to announce it, like when it turns white, that we have a new starting quarterback, like a Pope joke.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. But yeah, apparently a pressure washer, they were cleaning like these big gutter grates up on the roof, and that caught on fire,
Yikes!
which is kind of ironic because of all the water, I guess. But I don't know.
Man, that's crazy. That's crazy
Yep.
stuff. But glad to see everyone's healthy down there. All right, so you talked about it last week, right? Struggled to see what happened last week, of course.
Yes.
You think you're gonna have a tough time this week in New England, but what's the overall outlook for you? I assume with Tampa in there, you're probably not looking to win the division, but do you think they're a playoff team, or what are you thinking?
I don't know. I feel like if we're healthy, our defense is really good and we have a shot against Tampa. We beat them. We blew them out the water in our first game last season against them, but then it wasn't the same on that second one. So yeah, Tampa scares me. The second that Tom Brady signed with Tampa, as a fan, I was already just pissed off. I was like, oh, and then he got Gronk there. I'm like, he's bringing all his buddies in, and then they're just going to flourish in the South. Like, great. And so, yeah, that sucks. But it would hurt more was losing to the Panthers this weekend, because I just didn't expect it to go that way. I was on such a high from week 1,
Yeah, no, that's rough. And the
But-
Panthers, Panthers rolled, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
They're 2-0 too. I
Yeah.
mean, like that's
I
a
know.
team that is surprising. Like I'm very surprised by that team. Their defense played a heck of a lot better than I expected them to
They
play.
really did.
And now fantasy purposes, you talk about they had 2 good matchups coming. Well, they got Houston this week. They should roll this week with Houston, with Davis Mills on a short week starting a quarterback. Yikes! Like that should be a 20-point game for Houston
Gonna be
or
rough.
for Carolina. So
Mhm.
a lot of fun. But so what do you think this week? What are you hoping for this week? Ideal scenario would be the Saints
Yeah.
win. How do the Saints win if they come up to New England and win?
So I'm looking right now, like Marshawn Lattimore's questionable, so he might be back. We might have a few other of our defensive people back, and if we do, I think we have a chance to at least stop New England. And if we can do that, all we need is those big, like we saw Jameis can do it, a big breakaway to Deontay Harris down the field. Like that's something we haven't seen from the Saints in a while. At least I feel like we haven't had those,
Because your old
confident
quarterback
long.
couldn't throw more than
Yeah.
15 yards downfield.
Right? No, I know. So at least we have that hope, if we can just get some momentum in the offense, which we didn't see much this week, but the week before we saw it. It can happen if we can just make it click. So
Right. And Cody's got a great point here, right? You can beat up on your version of the Jets,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
I wanted to
That's
ask
our
you real quick
ultimate-
about the offensive line because when I look at the offensive line, I was looking at it today. I was writing something for Pat's Pulpit, and I was like, they've got some names. Like this is a good
Mhm.
offensive line, but they got torched last week
Yeah.
by Carolina. Like it was
Yeah.
ugly.
I
So
know.
I don't know if that's so much Carolina having a really good front or if it's a mixture of both.
I
If
don't
it's
know.
the Saints,
And then
you
I
know?
don't know like enough about football to understand with all those coaches being out too. How does that like the little micro transactions of I don't know how that affects it to have 8 coaches out or however many. It was a handful.
It was 8. Yeah, I saw
Yeah.
their DB's coach was coaching running backs, so that
Yeah,
that
so you
can't
see
be
what
a
I
good
mean?
Not
thing.
Like that can't be good. So I feel like if all those guys are back, at least the coaches, if they're back week 3 and we look decent, then that tells me that, okay, we just had a lot of stuff stacked against us for week 2. But
Yeah.
if they all come back and we still look rough, then I'm nervous. So
Yeah, Sean Payton said
been-
what it looked like Ted Lasso with like 4 guys in coaching of it.
Yeah. It's been tough getting a read on them this week. I've been trying, and I
Mhm.
can't even think of how I'm going to predict this game later this week because it's
no.
there's just no clue. I don't even know how good the Patriots are yet. So
Right.
and
Yeah.
I've watched
What's-
both games front to back. So
Do we know what the line is on that? The betting line? Is
I
it
think
like
it opened up at 3.5. I don't know what it's
Yeah.
at now, but
I figured
Is that
it'd
good?
probably be typically the home team gets 3. So it basically means the toss up, usually.
Okay.
Is
Okay.
essentially what it means. So we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see what happens. But I think that's one of the things that we see. Cody believes in you. That's one of the things though that I think is interesting. Like, what the line looks like and what the spread looks like and what I'm interested in the week after with Tampa and what that line's going to look like for the
Mhm.
Patriots. So, all that stuff is interesting. And Vegas knows. Like if Tampa New Orleans going to come in here and get the doors blown off, it wouldn't be a 3.5
Yeah.
point line. It'd be like a 6.5 point line because
it's sitting.
they'd want
it's sitting
people
at
to
2.5
bet the
right
Saints.
now. So
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
that's literally like we have no clue. That's what they
Exactly.
do when they have no
Okay.
clue.
Well, that's good. That gives me confidence,
See, there you go. See, Vegas knows these things. So, all right. Listen, anything else you want to talk about with Saints wise or?
I mean, I'm just a nervous fan week to week. And you'll see me on the timeline. If we're doing good, I will absolutely talk trash. And
Yep.
if we're doing bad, I will just fade into the distance or I'll publicly tilt and get very salty.
Yeah.
It's all
That's
over the
happened.
place.
That's
Yep.
that's what a good fan does though. That's what you're supposed to do. You
Yeah.
know, talk trash when you're winning and try not to catch too much flack when you're losing. That's all.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's Tom Brady's world. And unfortunately, yeah, we're living in it this
we
this
all
year,
are,
so.
unfortunately.
yeah.
So, all right. Before I let you go, though, can you just tell everyone where they can read you, see you, hear you, everything
Yeah.
else, right?
Yeah, you can follow me at Cooter Doodle and you can follow me at MB Fantasy Life on Instagram and Twitter. And every now and then I'll put little fun articles, but I'll just post them on my Twitter account. So
There you go. In case anyone's wondering, that MB is Matthew Berry.
Matthew
Fantasy
Berry
Life. No big
Fantasy
deal.
Life.
Just just the head of social for Matthew Berry. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Where the hell did Cooter Doodle come from?
So I had a cat named Snickerdoodle, based like the cookie Snickerdoodle.
Yeah.
And I was in college trying to come up with an Xbox gamer tag, and I was very adamant on I didn't want like numbers, and so I think Forgetting Sarah Marshall had come out and she had said Cooter. I'm like, that's funny, and then so I just did Cooter Doodle, and it
amazing.
said like accepted. I'm like, okay. So
That's hysterical, and
Yep.
it still stays. That's so good.
yeah,
Back in the day of AIM passwords or AIM
Yes.
profile names, my name was Omar the Tent Maker with a D and then an 8.
okay.
Because what happened? Because I'm an idiot, and I hit it, and I hit like the button, and it said something like do you want to
This is
do this?
taken.
But I thought it was taken, so I'm like, Omar the Tent Maker is taken. Come on, that's ridiculous. So then I changed it to a D, and then that was taken, and I'm like, what the heck is this, dude? So then I did the 8, and then I realized that it just said like, do you want to do this? And I hit no, and then I was like, oh no. So yeah, they were like, all 1 through 7 were taken. And I was like, well, it's kind of was taken. But yours is stuck with you because it's good in
When you don't have the
so,
numbers, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a hard thing to come by.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. So, well, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming through. We've enjoyed these 5-minute fantasy segments. It's always good
Yeah,
to
this
talk
is
to the
fun.
fantasy community. You guys are, inclusive. Not everyone, of course, but like
Yeah.
a lot of you guys are very inclusive, and I love interacting with you guys, and the trash talk that goes back and forth is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, this was fun. Have me back on like the next time the Saints. It may not be it might be a while.
4 years from now.
Yeah. Yeah. Whenever they have another 5-0, like 5 touchdown, 0 interception game, and they kill it,
There you go.
then I'll come
Oh, yeah,
back. 'Cause I'll be more
we'll bring you
pumped
back
up,
on later on. There you go. I like
Yeah.
that. I like that.
Yeah, when they replace
No.
Jameis, it's
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
In the Super Bowl. How about leading up to the Super Bowl?
There you go. There you go.
Patriots Saints in the Super Bowl. That would be
Dark
put some money
blue-
on that if
Dark
that
Blue
one
is
comes
more hopeful than me. I like it.
through. So all right, thank you so much. Have a great night, and
All right.
and we'll
Thank
talk to
you.
you soon.
Bye, guys.
See ya. All right. Cool. So that was good. Little 5-minute fantasy. We did it old school here. We appreciate you guys coming through on a Tuesday night, normally Wednesday or Thursday night, but Tuesday night, and we'll this week, obviously Saints game at home. They're recognizing Edelman at halftime, so that's a lot of fun. I'm gonna miss it because I'll be at a wedding, but what are you gonna do? I'm gonna listen.
tough.
I have a
That's
wedding at
tough
3
they
o'clock.
picked this week.
Oh, it was supposed to be this week last year, but I have a wedding at 3 o'clock. Starts at 3, and if they think that I am sitting in the church for an hour in the final hour of the Patriots game, and I will not be on my phone, they got another thing coming, man. I mean, that's just listen. You plan a wedding on a Sunday during football season, I'm going to be on my phone. It's just like there's nothing I can do about that. That's not
on
my.
you.
That's not
Yeah.
my fault. That's not my responsibility. That's on them for making it 3 o'clock on a Sunday. Come on now. So, anyways, but thanks guys. Thanks for coming through. We appreciate it, and we will we'll talk to you soon.